Sometimes we travel great distances in our lives looking for answers, seeing if we can meet the people or have the circumstances that we think will change our lives. And oftentimes, what we realize is we come back home and realize they're right in front of us. Hi, everyone. Chris Natzke here with Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching with your Mind of a Champion tip of the week. Oh man, almost 10 years ago, I went on an adventure that was one of the most incredible things I've ever done in my life. That's when I traveled to northern Spain to walk the Camino de Santiago. So for those of you that may not be familiar with the Camino, it's a 500-mile trek across northern Spain. It started well over 1,000 years ago when the powers that be in the church would actually send out penance for those sinners to actually walk this trail in order to do penance for their sins. But today, what it's turned into and evolved into is a real spiritual time for people to just get out of their everyday lives and just walk on the trail and just be with your own thoughts and meet with people and talk to your higher power, whatever that might be. And for me, it was the most transformative time of my life. But one of the things I realized is when I was on the Camino, and started in western Spain and then went up into the Pyrenees Mountains and then all the way over to Santiago on that 500-mile trek, is that I had originally started it basically as an athletic event. I'd get up early in the morning, I'd want to get to the trail like right at sunrise, and I'd be the only one out there. And although that was really, really great to be able to be just by myself, I realized that sometimes I was just focusing on getting to the next village, the next destination, the next place to lay my head. And all I was thinking about is how fast I could go from point A to point B, rather than really slowing down. But once I really did that, that's when things started to open up for me. And probably about 3/4 of the way through the trail, I was in my mode of slowing down, and I was walking, probably about 24 miles east of Santiago. And for those of you that are wondering how you get around on the Camino, you literally do it by following these symbols on the ground, either yellow arrows or seashells. And so I was going in one direction, thinking that the trail was straight ahead, and all of a sudden I heard someone yell from behind me, saying that the trail wasn't straight ahead, it was literally to the left. And I stepped back a couple steps and noticed I had missed the yellow arrow. And that's when I met Cecile. Cecile was a woman from Toulouse, France. And now that I was in my more slowed down mode, I really enjoyed as she and I walked for quite some distance, just getting to know one another and talking about each other's stories. Well, even though I was in slow down mode, her pace was unusually slow for me, just for my natural gait. So I excused myself and went on ahead. Well, about 2 or 3 hours later, I found myself at a cafe that was just adjacent to the trail. So as I was eating my lunch, I was literally just watching the pilgrims walk by. And all of a sudden, I saw Cecile. And she saw me and she began waving, and pretty soon she came over to me and she asked if she could join me for lunch. I, of course, obliged. And we were sitting there eating our meal, and we were talking about our experiences and also what our backgrounds were back home. And she asked me what I did for a living. So I told her I was a life coach, among other things. And she said, "Oh my gosh, I'm on the Camino because of a life coach." She said, "My life was so imbalanced that my boss at work said, you need to get a life coach. And if you don't hire a coach, I'm going to fire you," because she had been so imbalanced in her work-life balance. So anyway, we continued to have the conversation, and then she paused and she got kind of quiet. And she said, "I've been on this trail for 3 weeks, and I've spoken to more people on this trail in 3 weeks than I have in the last 20 years. And then she got even more quiet. And then she finally said, "Tuesday was my mom's 82nd birthday." And we were speaking on a Friday. She said, "Tuesday was my mom's 82nd birthday. And I called her up to wish her happy birthday. And for the first time in my life, I told her, 'I love you.'" Well, you can imagine the energy that was just released when she shared that. And I just sat there with nothing to say, and our eyes met, and both of our eyes were welling up in tears. And I realized in that moment that if I hadn't have taken the time to just slow down and get to know Cecile, I would have never had the gift of that story. So I share that with you now as we're moving into the holiday season. We're here in the beginning of December, and we're going to be hustling and bustling and getting ready for the holidays ahead. But I'm just going to encourage you to make sure that you're taking time to slow down and connect with people. And also, as we get into the holiday season and we're visiting with families and we're thinking about presents and shopping and all those other things, is that when you have the opportunity to be in front of those that are most dear to you, that you literally allow yourself to be present and don't hesitate to say, I love you. So thanks so much for listening, everyone. I so appreciate you coming in each and every week and giving me your feedback. And please be sure to share this message, particularly if you feel that it's appropriate for someone in your life. So thanks so much for listening. This has been Chris Natzke with Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching, and I'll see you next time on the Mind of a Champion Tip of the Week.